So remember, when we're going to play it pentatonically, we're going to play it diatonically. We still start on the 6 here, 6 root 2 3. Okay, but the blues note right here, starting 6 root 2 3, goes on the 2 3. If we play it pentatonically, if diatonically, it would be between the 5 and the 6 there, right? Look at that. Okay, so the only thing you have to know is the blues pentatonic key is played in pentatonic for now. For now. You know, I apologize if I said, and I've always said, if you can play it diatonically, you can play it pentatonically, you can play the chords. In other words, the chords are contained in a pentatonic scale, as they are, and the pentatonic scale is contained in the diatonic scale. Well, with the blues note, we have to be careful, apparently. So let's look at this. I've simplified it. The first thing I did, of course, I did this monstrosity up here, okay, where I've got 12 cages for each mode. So we have here, we have the E7, A7, C7 blues up here. All right, and over here a little hard to see with the red. The A7, D7, E7 blues. Okay, that was kind of funky, but okay. So we want to get the chart. We want to zoom in on the chart. So this is D7, G7, A7 blues. So it goes 1 to 4 to 5. We've got the RKB. Then we go to the BMDK, the bookmaster pen, the blues master pen key, and this is all these cages where I actually really mapped out every single one of them, and I worked them, and I came up with this chart here. Of course, this is about how many charts ago? Many charts ago, right? 5 5 5 5 5 4 5 5 3 5 5 2 kind of thing. Here I rearranged them. Rearranged them there. You see how the middle part changes? Okay. To get them in order. Then, you know, here's where I was first separating them out. Now with this chart, this is like fretboards. This is like 4 guitars right here. Just with the in fourths separated out. And as you know, as you can see here, there's no overlap here. So root goes to 2 right there. Root goes to root plus, and then 2, 6 goes to 7 flat, and then 7. So there's no overlap there. So it's like 4 guitars right there. That's what I was working with. Here we talked about this. These are the long patterns. But today, we're not even concerned with long patterns. Because when we go to the blues transformation, we're going away from the fret note. We can play our blues. What's good about the pen keys, you can do a direct shadow, play the C here and the C pent up here. Okay, 3, 3, 5, 6, root 2, 3. Where's the blues note on the pen key between 2 and 3? Because, okay, because in E flat, in the key of C, you know, look at Cage. Cage is in the key of C. C, A, G, E, D. So my system is, you got C7, F7, G7. The blues magic key is B flat. The pen key is E flat. Let's get back to the chart that we're on today. Okay, but this is where it all started, you know, with the 4 fretboards. Okay, and then it was like this, and I had this big thing where I put them all right next to each other. I had to line them up exactly. And here we are, the RKB, the BMDK, the BMPK, and the RMBK, which is diatonic, pentatonic, diatonic. The root key, the blues can be both. But blues, you have to play it either diatonically or pentatonically. So this went all the way back. So here's how I derived them, and I had everything all three of them right here. See, so we have a little chunk of the fretboard here. Okay, root key of the blues right there. So let's go back to today's chart. Okay, we're rolling along. You better get out of our way before we roll all over you. Na 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 na. All right, little blooper there. That's 565. We want 566. Okay, so we're back on 566 here. Root master blues. Okay, so we talked about where's the blues note. We talked about what we're doing. We have essentially it's called the open capo cage is here, and then we have the shadow box. Shadow box. Okay, so adjust from the root key. So this is very important. Don't worry about all this now, because this, if you want to know the derivation, you know, I've done the blues master diatonic key, the pent key, and the mixolydian key. In the open capo, we go root key of the blues plus 1 cage to get the 1. From the 4, we go plus 1 cage, so it's just plus 1 cage. In the pent key, we go pent. Now remember one thing, it sounds a little tricky. In the blues master pent key, we take the root key chord, whatever it is, and we go ahead 1 pent shape. So D, what's 1 pent shape ahead of D? In a pent scale, root 2, 3, 5, 6. So ahead of the D would be E shape. Okay, so we're going to play it pentatonically, but it just happens to be a coincidence that we go ahead of pent shape. So don't confuse the two right there. So we go ahead of pent shape for the blues master pent key, and in the shadow, when we go up 1 cage from a blues master pent, go ahead 1 pent, and then go to the next cage, a cage shape, we're back at the same shape. That's why the blues master pent key equals the RKB shadow. So if we're playing like D here, then we just do, but you got to do it blues. Okay? So you want to do, when you're playing blues, you do 7th chords. Okay, so there's our G pent. 6 root 2 3 5 6 root 2 3 5 6 root. Okay, it's just an easy 7th there, G shaped 7th. When we go to the 5th of that, you just play the pentatonic A shape. Now remember, the 2 3 on the A shape is going to be. That was the wrong blues note, but it didn't sound bad anyway. It's on the 2nd string down from the top. I call the bottom string the string 1 because it's so low. It's called string 6 in regular guitar theory. Okay, so let's move along. What I've done is I've simplified shadow simply. Now remember, the 5th is plus 2C and the 4th is plus 2P. So over here, the 5th is plus 2C. Here's cage is C and pent is P. So plus 2C is G. That's the fifth. Fifth is plus 2C. The fourth is plus 2P. 1, 2. C to D. That's why the fourth of the C shape is the E shape. But you have to bar it. All right. Okay, so the wife's home. I want you to get this. We're going to continue on this chart right here. Remember, the pent key shadows exactly the RKB, but now we're going to take the fifth for the Blues Master diatonic, and we're going to just go up one pent key for the other key. It's been a good lesson. We'll continue later.